All right, we'll look for the best strategy to win fantasy football week 12 and beyond. This is a very, very, very tricky week. The key to this week is to avoid the trap games, the trap matchups, and focus on the shootouts. We got a bunch of games that are going to blow past 50 points, and you got a bunch of games that are going to fall under 40 points. There's not a lot of games in the middle this week. You got to stay out of these low total games. Thursday Night Football, Steelers-Browns. That's a gross game. Of course, you're starting a guy like Pickens. But after George Pickens, there's just not a lot to like in that game. Vikings at Bears, not a lot to like in that game. You're playing Justin Jefferson, you're not loving it. You're playing DeAndre Swift, you're not loving it. The Chiefs are at Carolina. This is where fantasy points go to die. There's one player on the field you're excited to start, and that's Kareem Hunt, of all players. Gross. Titans, Texans, gross. Broncos, Raiders, disgusting. That's a game you would want to start Broncos running backs, but is it Javonte Williams? Is it Audric Estime? I don't know. Bo Nix is a must start, stacked with Cortland Sutton. And of course, you have to start Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers at this point, but you're not that excited about any of these options. Well, Brock Bowers, I'm always excited. Buccaneers at the Giants. Puke. Puke, 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 puke. When you're making your start and sit decisions in fantasy football, look at the game totals and ask yourself, where are the fantasy points going to come from? Who am I really excited about in this game? Look at the Cowboys at Commanders. Anyone on the Cowboys you want to play? Not really. But this is a situation, like with George Pickens, you just got to hold your nose and play CeeDee Lamb. Commanders are 10-point favorites in that game. What does it mean? Positive game script for Brian Robinson. Of course, you're playing Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. The only other player in that game you're excited to play, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is the type of running back that's going to rack up fantasy points and touchdowns when the Commanders are milking clock, sitting on a lead. Patriots are going to the Dolphins. Finally, this is a game where you can feel good about starting Jalen Waddle and go right back to Jonnu Smith. Playing Jonnu Smith this week is not point chasing. He's an explosive tight end who's the clear third option in that passing game. But you're not excited to start any Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson, that's about it. And you're not even excited to start him in a road game where the Patriots are 7-point dogs. This is the ultimate landmine slate for fantasy football. So what do? You focus on the games with the explosive matchups. 51-point total, Colts at Lions. Jameson Williams comes back from another suspension and goes off. He's going to go off again. The Colts can be exploited by outside wide receivers. This is the perfect matchup indoors for Jameson Williams. This is also the perfect matchup for Anthony Richardson. He's probably going to get a lot of garbage time. Lions are 7.5-point favorites. Anthony Richardson to Josh Downs all day. You're playing those two. But also, in deeper leagues, you may bench a receiver in one of these awful matchups and play an Alec Pierce instead. Because you know in the second half, Anthony Richardson is going to be heaving it deep in comeback mode against the Lions, and he's going to try to connect with Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce has some of that Marquez Valdez-Scantling streaming upside this week. Cardinals are at the Seahawks. Now that total is only 47.5. That's too low. If there was a game that was going to go over, I would pick that game. Cardinals are fresh, coming off a bye. Seahawks are rolling. Go right back to Jaxon smith-njigba after he got 10 catches last week. DK Metcalf coming back from injury. He's going to be healthier, more acclimated. He's a must start this week. That's the type of game where you want to focus your attention. When you're playing DFS, when you're making your start-sit decisions, you want to get exposure to that game. That's a game where you can see a Tyler Lockett getting there after it's been weeks since he's been fantasy relevant. And of course, you're starting a guy like Kenneth Walker, baby. You're piling into that game. And you're piling into Eagles-Rams. This is the perfect situation to play Jalen Hurts. Of course, you're playing him and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with all the confidence in the world. Tricky week for tight end. Why not Dallas Goedert? At the Rams could be a lot worse. And of course, you're starting your key Rams weapons. That game total is 50.5. But there's a game with an even higher total. It's Monday Night Football. Ravens at Chargers. Ladd McConkey's banged up. If he's active, you play him. But you're also playing Quentin Johnston. Quentin Johnston is not good at football, but he knows how to score touchdowns. And especially with Ladd McConkey banged up against that Ravens secondary, very exploitable. And Justin Herbert's playing his best football in 4 years. This is a game you want to pile into. You want all the Zay Flowers. Trade for him. Go get him. Play him in all the pick'em and DFS contests. This is a Zay Flowers week because if there's one thing we know the Chargers can do, it's wall off opposing running games. That means Lamar Jackson's going to have to throw and run. Big week coming for Lamar Jackson, paired with Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is a threat to get there this week. Even Rashad Bateman is interesting. This is an impossible week on the waiver wire. There are no good options. Oh, there's Elijah Moore. Yeah, they're playing the Steelers. So in these deeper leagues, what do? You play Rashad Bateman knowing, hey, we have 51 points going to be scored in this game, and the Ravens are going to be in a situation where they're going to have to throw. It's a pass funnel defense that the Chargers have created, so take advantage with Ravens receivers. 49ers going to the Packers. Perfect game to play Jaden Reed. Perfect game to play Tucker Kraft. You're going right back to Juwan Jennings. It's no longer point chasing to play Juwan Jennings. He's just the truth. He had a 40-point week. He went off again last week. Jair Alexander's banged up. This is a week to play your 49ers and your Packers receivers. And of course, Christian McCaffrey. The touchdowns are coming, man. The touchdowns are coming. If there was one fringe option in a bad game I would be willing to play this week, it would be Jalen McMillan. We've wanted to play him in previous weeks, but he just couldn't get healthy enough to be active on game day. But it's now been many weeks since he strained that hamstring. He is going to be back. He is going to be the number one wide receiver for Baker Mayfield against the Giants. Buccaneers are 5-point road favorites with no receivers other than Jalen McMillan and a tight end in Cade Otton and a running back in Rachaad White. So given it's a road game, I like Rachaad White more than Bucky Irving. And the best wide receiver on the roster right now is Jalen McMillan, and he's free in all fantasy leagues. You can just pick him up. So think critically about the injuries that have happened and the players that are getting healthier day by day. Deebo Samuel getting healthier. Go back to him. Nico Collins getting healthier. Go back to him. DK Metcalf getting healthier. Be sure to get him in your lineup. Jalen McMillan gonna be finally healthy. If you need a deep league streamer, he's your guy. 6 teams are on bye this week, so you need to get creative. Many of you are in a desperate situation, so follow my advice, do what the experts do, chase the points.